about it.
That's good, we like that.
Yeah, so timing fashions didn't cut them off like in mid-word. But so Kelly it has had a prolific debut, and with 5 books, all published by Regal Press. The Hour of Artemis trilogy, so she's already got a trilogy. Rules of the Road and Waking the Dreamer. It reminds me of that old, I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember the sex satirist Tom Lehrer, but he would say, you know, to think that when Mozart was my age, he'd been dead for 10 years. Well, that's kind of how I feel about her, because she's like incredibly prolific, and here I am, you know, like the tortoise, and sort of going slowly. Anyway, the Hour of Artemis trilogy, Rules of the Road, and Waking the Dreamer. In 2019, because nothing, you know, moss doesn't grow under her, she's published 2 books this year, each the first in a new series, running from Forever and the Sovereign of Psiere. Okay, and so she's helping with the pronunciation too. Boy, what a person. All right, Kelly, it's all yours.
Thank you. So Sovereign of Psiere is actually what I'm going to read first. It is it's the first book of the Mystery of the Maker series published by Regal Crest Enterprises. The excerpt begins partway through chapter 5, when the main characters are rushing to save some children on an island from an imminent flash flood. This is a completely made-up sci-fi, multi-genre mashup, so there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this book. Olivia nodded. What is your plan? There's only one thing I can do. I'm going to have to get them. I will levitate across the river to the island on a boat, load them up, and bring them back. The Khanate looked Castellan up and down with surprise. You can do all that? Ever the unflappable professional, the lieutenant commander responded with confidence. Of course. I'm a 5-channel high psi. My telekinesis is rated a 6. I think I can manage a few kids in a boat. Olivia's eyebrows rose with the commander's words, and they joined the rest of the group at the edge of the dock. You're the hero of Temple Beach? Yes, she is. Why do you ask? Of course, Dr. Shen only heard the Khanate's question, not the preceding conversation. She's going to levitate a boat out to the island to get the kids and bring it back. Gemetta looked like she was going to protest, but Castellan held up a hand. This has to be done, Gem. Damn the consequences. The sense of unease she had been feeling since being on the railer increased, and she knew she had to act. Without another word to the group, she jogged over to the nearest boat that looked like it would hold 5 kids and cut the line with a knife on her belt. It was the only item she hadn't removed when she stripped her tools and devices. Then before the river could rip it away from the dock, she lifted the boat into the air. As the boat rose above the river, so too did she. It was harder than she thought it would be. Though her strength had long returned to her depleted channels, using her telekinesis felt a lot like touching a hot brand with an already burnt hand. Castellan's channel throbbed sickly, and the pain flared through her temples. Her face a study in concentration as she went. All the group on the shore could do was watch and wait. Curiosity nagged at the back of Olivia's mind, and she addressed Dr. Shen. What were you going to say when she stopped you? Gemetta clenched her fist, knowing exactly how much pain Castellan would be in. Her actions at Temple Beach strained her telekinetic channel yesterday, practically burned it out, and depleted her reserves at the same time. What? Is she insane? If the pain overwhelms her, she'll drop them all. Dr. Shen shook her head. She'll drop herself first, unconscious into the water if need be. We should stand ready, just in case. The entire group moved up to the top of the hill nearest the dock as rain continued to lash at them. Lieutenant Saban called out a warning as another precog hit. Khanate Drakor, we only have means until the flood. Perhaps we should move back to a safer distance. No, we will stay here and wait. Mentally, she sent warning to Tosh. Hurry, Saban says we only have means till the flood. We are on our way. Sure enough, within the next mean, they saw a small boat appear through the gloom, floating just above the water. Castellan and the boat barely cleared the frothing waves below. The pain of her strained channel was preventing her from expending the amount of effort that a greater height would require. The salvo team and medicans arrived while they had been waiting. The trained men and women were ready to swoop in and tend to the kids the minute the boat landed. Much to the dismay of them all, the boat full of children and Tosh stopped about 10 yards out from the shoreline. Even from that distance in the rain, Castellan's face showed the agony she was in. She's not going to make it. She can't make it. Olivia wasn't sure who said it, but she hated the words. It was Jametta who countered them. She'll make it or die trying. There is no can in Castellan's lexicon. A great roar sounded upriver to the right. Castellan's face turned toward the sound, and with a motivation of fear for the kids, she gave a great mental shove that sent the boat halfway up the side of the hill. Unfortunately, that push stole her consciousness, plunging her into the icy water below. Olivia didn't think about the consequences of her actions. She afforded 2 of the float vests from the kids that were safely ashore and sprinted toward the water. While the Conate was an excellent swimmer, nothing had prepared her for the raging and abusive current. When she broke the surface, she saw Castellan's head pop up as well, the plunge having brought her awake again.
That's not me.
She screamed into the other woman's mind, catch! Then she afforded the other float vest into her hands. Olivia took valuable steps to secure her own vest, ever conscious of the wall of water that she knew was coming. She winced when a small tree limb glanced off the back of her head, but she didn't take her eyes off the lieutenant commander. Tosh had only succeeded in draping the float vest around her neck, but it was not secured. The Conate swam as hard as she could, angling toward the barely conscious soldier. By a stroke of blind luck, she made it to the lieutenant commander and wrapped her arms securely around the woman, just as the flood hit. She held on as tight as she could, not only to Tosh, but to the strap of Tosh's vest as well. It wouldn't do to lose the one thing that was keeping her afloat. Castellan roused slightly, struggling in the unfamiliar grip as they were tossed about. What? Olivia soothed her mentally. It's okay, just don't let go. The soldier twisted her head to look upon the Conate with dismay. If something happens to you, the queen will kill me. Look out!
I'm particularly amazed that Kelly got through that alarm and just continued. It just really shows.
Don't you think a flash flood warning during that was good?
Yeah, it was. I think they planned that. I don't know. Maybe that's why she was so calm.
It was either that or a tornado, and I'm from the Midwest, so it's like whatever. Whatever.
So, one of the things I love about this group is how diverse their decisions have been around publishing. Some of them have gone with some of our publishers that we know pretty well, and some of them have gone indie, and it's a nice mix of folks. Our next reader is Ellen Bennett, who this year released her book Pagodaville, the first in a series. There seems to be a thread through this of series, and I don't know if any of you know Melissa Braden's doing a panel, or a workshop on series, so if you're interested in that, that might be a good choice for you. And here we go again. It's published by Smiling Dog Publications. It's the second book in the series, The Ladies of Pagodaville, is with the editor, which it may still be, I don't know. But Ellen, come.
About 15 years ago, I had the pleasure of visiting some friends down in St. Augustine, Florida. And they had a summer place for the winter. And next door was this sort of beat up, broken down, horrible looking place called the Pagoda Motel. And this is a true story, but it's made fiction, of course, so that it's readable. So I asked her, I said, so what's the deal with this motel? And she said, well, there's some lore involved. Apparently some woman from the city, some big city lawyer, was disgruntled with her life, and she bought this property, and she wanted to turn it into a lesbian enclave. Well, at the time, you know, we were all driving our VW buses. So her friends came down in the VW buses, lived in the bus, didn't even live near the motel, or in the motel, and I guess they lived on love and peyote for a while, and then they all left, so the thing tanked. So I was walking around the property, and I was thinking, well, what if it worked? What if it actually worked? And so I came up with this crazy idea that this lawyer from big city of Cleveland, which is where I'm from, leaves her life behind at 35 to reinvent herself. So she says, you know, she's a big patron of the arts, and she sees that musicians and writers and artists, they're struggling. So what's she going to do? She's going to open up this motel that has 6 cabins, sort of in a semicircle, and she's going to open this up as a collective. You know, her friend's like, a commune? You want to do a commune? No, it's a collective. So, book one, Pagodaville, is the setup. So we're going to meet Lorna, who is the protagonist, and we're going to meet a very zany family that she, you know, becomes involved with. You got to read the book to find out. But it has some interesting twists and turns. And at one point, I was talking to my partner, and I said, you know, the arc just isn't happening for me. What's going on here? It's just kind of flat. She said, well, there's got to be murder. And I'm like, well. So I slept on it for a while and thought, okay, there's got to be murder, but I'm not into bloodshed and war and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, they find dead bodies somewhere in the property. Well, then all of a sudden the mafia thing came up, and I thought, okay, how can I incorporate this? So at 4:30 in the morning, I sat straight up and I said, I've got it. Okay, so then I've included mafia. The motel was a safe house back in the 30s for the mafia guys because it was so off the beaten track. And it gets incorporated into the 80s when this takes place, that the new owner of the motel has some interesting discoveries. I'll just leave it at that. And then, of course, there's the stranger that comes in on the Harley.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. This bitch is hot. Okay? So this added to the arc of, okay, so we got some stuff going on here. So with these crazy characters in mind, book 2 was rumbling around in my head, and it's time to flesh out the characters in book 2. So we have 4 new people in book 2, and they are a musician, an artist, a graphic